He never can hear it because he's all going in.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. 9 o'clock, December 29, 2016, Policy and Procedure Committee meeting. You call the roll, please.
Raymond, Anderson,
Present.
Barron,
Here.
Bills,
Present.
Crumwitty, Sticknot,
Present.
Sure.
Here. Are there any public comments this morning? Seeing none, we'll go to committee chair reports. Start with Russell Bills.
Well, the highway department right now looks like has a petition for aid on a box culvert on the Belmont Middleport line east of Watsika. So that'll get looked at, and also we think we got the paperwork for a jurisdictional transfer on the last of the state slabs heading south out Ashcombe. Other than that, just monthly claims.
I think you may want to take a look at some of the complaints that have been surfaced recently about ice on the roads.
Yeah, we had some icing build up, so we did have a couple days where a lot of folks should not have been trying to travel, especially when the school buses wasn't running, and a lot of other issues.
Right. That'd be something to talk about it a little bit at the committee, I guess.
Okay.
Mr. Anderson.
Finance, we keep an eye on the budget pretty early in the year, so I'm sure it's fine, but looks like the other two items, the big items from the last finance are on the policy meeting now, the public safety and the revolving loan fund. So finance could be a little quieter, but we'll see.
Mr. Raymond.
I'll be taking our usual reports and looking into reviewing ordinances.
Okay, Mr. Barron's, management.
Management, just normal, farm report and normal stuff,
Judicial.
normal reports.
Mr. Sticknot.
We'll have the standard reports from department heads, animal control reports, nothing unusual.
Okay. We'll go to ESDA, Mr. Sacy.
Since I last presented, we've had a couple of ice storms, as previously mentioned. My activity was limited during that time. We just had a couple of conference calls to the National Weather Service, disseminating information to those around the county that we needed about upcoming storms and their effects and such. Taking another independent study course. This is leading towards my continued education that we do every year. I've been working on soliciting some donations for radio equipment for emergency management to try to lessen the burden on the budget. I have some radio equipment that is currently budgeted, but if I can get it donated, then I kind of have to spend it. So I'm working on that. For the past month, I've also been starting some EOP, or Emergency Operations Plan updates. Those will be due to the state in April, and we'll be having them done next month. Also, the Hazardous Material Response Plan for the LAPC, I do some mandatory provisions for that. And we'll do more after the end of January when we get Tier 2 reports from across the county. And also, my assistant, Michael Johnson, finished a draft of our resource appendix. We created a nice, quickly accessible appendix of all the resources that we may come in during the disaster, which is very nice. Looking forward, 19th of January, I'm going to be having an Emergency Management Advisory Committee meeting, first of its kind, something the state is looking for emergency managers to do. So if you want to know more about that, or want to go, just let me know. March 14th, I have scheduled a weather spotter training seminar, something I'd like to do with the National Weather Service. That will be in Crescent City at 7 p.m. on March 14th. And I've scheduled a IEMA-based course called Debris Management on the 21st of March. That'll be in my office. We'll open that up to open to anybody. You just have to register online on IEMA's website. And debris management, of course, as related to disaster. when you have debris from tornadoes or floods or whatever it may be, it's hard to deal with what you think. So that's what I'm looking at.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Okay, we'll go to the chairman comments and go on to the night meeting of the county board regarding the public safety tax. At the last county board meeting, Chad McGinnis brought up about the possibility of holding the county board meeting wherein the public safety tax would be brought up for approval, having that meeting at night. So I guess that's what we want to talk about here this morning and see exactly how we want to handle that.
I think it's a good idea.
We're gonna
Anybody
have,
else any thoughts
gonna have
about
a special meeting with just that on the agenda then?
Well, that would be a possibility also. I think that's what we want to, we want to have our regular monthly meeting and do it then, that way, or if we wanted to have a special meeting to do it, that would be a possibility too. Russell?
I think it's a little early because I think really we need to get, the committee needs to get together to put this in place, which we're going to put it in place. We need to make sure we got our language, way we want our language. And then, if somebody wants to have a special night meeting, but at this point, since we don't have all our language together, I don't know why we'd want to have a night meeting at this point.
Well, I think it's something that we have to kind of figure out if that's what we want to do, because if we're going to have that special meeting, the entire board has to approve doing it. So when you look at the timeline going forward, it's, you don't want to put the cart before the horse, but nevertheless, we got to try and figure out how to get it all to come together, because it'll be approved or handled at the finance committee. Normally, that would mean the following week, when the full board meets, that it would be addressed at that time. And so if we're going to have a night meeting, it looks to me like there might be something that would be a little difficult in scheduling unless we had figured it out ahead of time. In other words, if you said that you wanted to have that done at the March meeting, then, or the February meeting, whatever the case might be, then that's something that we could establish at this time. And the final approval that could come from the finance committee before that meeting. If I see it right, I think that's about the only way that we could put that together.
I think if we're going to do a night meeting, it probably should be just for that, because otherwise meetings can get awful long, and you never know what the weather's going to be. You don't want people out at 10 or 11 o'clock at night if it's bad weather. So I would say we'd want it to be a special meeting just for that. And then what time would you start it? 6, 7?
These are all things that we're here to try and decide upon. I think it's, like I said, it's something, right now the matter is before the finance committee. I think that's the proper place for it to go through its whole process. Once they approve it, then the normal procedure or process is at the next county board meeting, when they submit their report, the board votes to approve it.
Lisa had a comment that I think we ought to hear.
I'd say there's, like 2 options to have a night meeting. I mean, if you have a special full board meeting, it takes full county board meeting, at night, take the, signatures and the third, and you've got to put stuff in the paper and you've got to send stuff out. But this is more informational for the public, right? And couldn't you just add to the meeting schedule a special night finance meeting or something like that, and just make sure that it gets out real good in the press so that the public, gets here? Because isn't that what it's kind of for? More discussion from the public, or am I wrong?
Well, it is, but again, it's a situation where you can't have a parade of people coming up to make public comments and get the meeting done in a responsible way. That's why we have our public comment policy to handle those things. So typically you might have 1 or 2 people that would offer their views on one side of the issue and maybe one or two on the other side. So that if they stick to that 5-minute limit, then you're talking 10 or 20 minutes for public comments and then voting. But if I understand what you're saying, maybe that's an idea we should give serious thought to, of just having the finance committee meeting at night.
Which of course all county board members could attend, you know, if they
Correct.
wanted, but,
Right. But then the final, whatever, you know, let's say the county finance committee approves it, which we anticipate will happen. Then, if that's done at a night meeting, then the following week at the regular county board meeting during the day, that would be the final approval of that whole situation. So, that's, what do you think about that idea?
Well, if it's a finance committee meeting, then board members will be able to speak, but not as much as, because it'll be the committee that's meeting, and so the board members that are guests,
It's up to the chairman
yeah.
to allow any extra comments or what input as he sees fit.
Yeah. Whereas at a full board meeting, all board members have the right to speak. That'd be the only...
speak.
It's a committee meeting, so the committee members are the ones meeting, everyone else is a guest, and they're listed as so in the minutes.
But there's public comment in every meeting.
But not debate.
Yeah. I think what you want is public comment, isn't it? I mean,
Well,
isn't that what the purpose of having the night meeting is so that the public will be here to
yeah.
give their
Mm-hmm.
thoughts on it?
Everybody has the opportunity in public comments to voice their opinion. And it's up to the, in this case, up to the finance committee to approve or disapprove, and then that goes to the full board for their action. And if the full board doesn't like what the finance committee does, then they separate that out of the report and so forth. So, Russell?
Well, it don't make a lot of sense to me at this point. You know, the whole thing is there's a little uproar because somebody gave them the impression that we wasn't going to pass a public safety tax after the voters passed it. I really don't think this board had that intention at all in mind, but that's how it got all started. So at this point, we need to move forward on get our ordinance together, and then after we get the ordinance together, if people, we still hear that there's a little problem out there, maybe we should have some night meetings. But until that point, I don't know why we'd want to be.
Another thing, so there has been, Jim has prepared an ordinance and...
Yeah, I see it's in front of me today, so naturally I'm not going to act on it today.
I don't think anybody's had a chance to really look at it
Yeah.
yet, and that would be, again, something that I would want the finance committee to go through. And there may be, again, there may be questions arise when the finance committee handles this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm sure there will.
So I guess for now, what we'll do is to table the idea of night meetings then, is that what you want to do?
Well, are we looking at full board or committee? Because then if it's committee, then
No.
that would be the committee chairman.
I think what Russell is suggesting is that we table the matter until we have the ordinance prepared and so forth, and then decide at that point.
Mr. Sure?
Yeah.
Yes.
May I ask a question? Do we have a general timeline of when things are going to be happening? When we think we'll have the approval? I know we can't say for sure, but do we have just kind of a general?
In order for the safety tax, the earliest it can go into effect is July 1.
Oh, yeah, I know that, but I mean in terms of, we have that deadline of, what is it, end of March?
End of April.
End of April.
It has to be at the Department of Revenue by May 1.
Okay, so I was just wondering what's happening this month, what would happen next month, and so on, to make sure that we get
Well, that's the reason it was put on the agenda last month for discussion. It'll be discussed again this month, as Mr. Anderson pointed out.
Okay.
And when the discussions are completed and so forth, then it'll move forward. I think the idea is not to rush into anything,
Well,
to make sure that all the bases are covered before we do that, and we have
Okay.
some time in which to get that done.
Well, yeah, that kind of was my question, is what's the timeline to make sure that we do that? Or we have a deadline?
Right. I
We
think
know that-
everyone is mindful
Yeah.
of the deadline
Yeah.
and when it needs to be done.
We know how slowly things move when we meet once a month. And I was just wondering, do we have something set for, well, by next month we'll have this, by the following month we'll have this, just as goals? Whether we meet them or not isn't something that's set in stone, but just an idea.
I think we have that. I think, as you just heard, we are making progress every month. Last month, there was progress made following, after the election. There were a lot of questions that needed answers. Some of those questions were answered at the last meeting, and up to the last meeting. Since the last meeting until today, there's been more progress. Mr. Devine's prepared an ordinance that he wants us to look at, and so forth. So we're moving forward.
Okay, I'm not accusing us of dragging our feet, I just wanted to have an idea, that's all.
Okay, well, that's the best I can tell you right now. Do you have anything to add, Kyle?
I would say March. Shoot for February, but realistically, I'll bet it goes on the March full board.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess our plan then is to be to table the night meeting aspect of the thing and discuss it again next month. Okay. Next item then will be upgrading the public address system here in the boardroom. I've asked Mr. Stacy to put together some information on that, and I'd like him to present that to us now.
Well, two things. I started looking into software, and then I started looking into hardware. Paperwork. To go over software first. Software that is currently used, I set up some time ago. It was not part of the original design, so it does have its quirks. I looked into some software called AV Capture. Number of different municipality or local governments use this across the country. I contacted the company and received a demo just online. It's pretty slick. You can live stream if you want. It would support what we need, and it also is easier to use. One of the problems when we initially started recording meetings is who's going to take on the work of, editing and uploading, and it was a number of hours per meeting. And Linda somehow managed to do it. Kudos to her. This system that I provided paperwork would hopefully make it a lot quicker and also more accessible to the public. Along with viewing the video, you also see an agenda right next to it, so it's kind of slick and made for public meetings in that manner. The downside to this is that we would need a new computer, which I would estimate maybe would cost $800 to $1,000 because it needs to have an i7 quad-core processor and 8 gigs of RAM and a terabyte hard drive, which is significant hardware inside a computer. And also, it's at a base price $200 a month. So, while I thought it was slick, I think the price tag is a little high. So that's what I have on software so far. There are other options out there. I haven't had a lot of time to look into this, so I will continue looking if that's what the board wants. Equipment. My idea is to tie in the PA system, so the broadcasting that you hear from the microphones, the microphone up at the podium, and the recording as well. In the last board meeting, there was some confusion on the microphone in front of the chairman, whether that was recording or whether it was broadcasting, or both. That is only for recording. However, with purchase and correct setup, we could have a microphone before. So my idea is we would have to purchase a sound mixer. I'm assuming approximately 16 channels to allow us some buffer room, and then along with that, it'd be an upgrade in providing a microphone at each desk for county board members for a full board meeting. So it'd be one microphone per 2 county board members, and 3 up at the front desk, and then we would incorporate the already 2 hanging microphones which are behind this barrier, put them here so the public could be heard in a full county board meeting, and then also incorporating that microphone there. So that's why I chose a 16-channel sound mixer. I've already put in a request to Aerialite for a quote. They have not gotten back to me yet, but I expect it to be between $500 to $1,000. So it's more dollars, and unfortunately that would not stop there. For that plan to work, also we would need the microphones. I do not have a quote for you today on that. And then the, I'm assuming wireless connectors to make that happen. I'm sorry, I don't know how much that would cost yet. But that was my idea, and this would be a significant improvement. We could do less than this. It's all what the county board wants. So I'd appreciate some comments on what you guys initially think of this, just looking at the first couple of dollar amounts, and then I can move forward and continue to give more information.
Too much money.
And this can be elaborate, this can be expensive, we can make it very nice. Or, I mean, this setup costs, I want to say somewhere around the range of $2,000 total, maybe $3,000. However, it's not going to last forever, and obviously we have some complaints about it. And there's no maintenance cost with this until it breaks, which will eventually happen. So you need a new computer and new equipment. So,
The problem I see is that if you want something to work well, it's going to cost some money. If you buy something cheap, it's probably not going to work very well. So that's a decision we've got to make, whether we want to spend the money and make it work, or have something cheap like we do now that's not really sufficient.
I will say a number of the constructive criticisms that have been provided is that the audio is the problem, which is, to be frank, the audio mixer, the thing that I said would cost between $500 and $1,000. Doing that, what I think would greatly improve the audio quality. I have no plans to improve video quality. I think that camera is sufficient. It's not 1080p by any means, but I don't need anybody to see my face that clearly on the video camera.
So there's 2 reasons for improving the audio quality. Number one, for the broadcast or part of it, but also when the meetings are held here, the full board meetings, so that people can be heard more clearly and distinctly.
Yes, absolutely.
Pretty much everybody has some issues with that from time to time, depending on who's speaking and what part of the room they're in versus, the person that's listening where they're at.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and I've never dealt with the PA system, the system that is attached to the microphone at the podium. I've never dealt with that, but I think that tying in more microphones to that won't be a problem with the audio mixer. From previous conversations, from the conversation we're having right now, I think that you're probably going to want to go with the audio mixer and the appropriate microphones and cables and adapters are going to go with it. And gentlemen, it's going to cost you, I think, at least $2,000, and I could be way out of line. It could be $5,000.
No, I guess we need to know more precisely,
I
and we
need
need to
more.
know how much money we might have available for it, but we have the ball started on the issue, and I think that's the main thing I wanted to get accomplished.
Sure, and I apologize for not having more information. Time, that's really
We can continue the discussion of it next month.
Sure.
I think it's someplace that we want to go, John, because there's a lot of people that use this this room, and you know what, that PA could come in very handy for them too, so.
Well, that's true, but by the same token, if you have a microphone by each desk, then you run into some other concerns about, you know, how people that are using this room, is that equipment likely to be damaged, or is it going to be taken away and stored someplace when the board isn't meeting? And there's
Well,
a lot of people that use this
Oh.
room, and
That's a valid point.
it's not,
On that note, if we used wireless microphones, then we could easily store them somewhere, take them out.
that might be something to keep in mind.
Sure thing.
they'd rather take a mic than trash the bathroom, huh?
So, I mean, okay, I have a good idea of the general direction we want to go for equipment. Software. I think the software I propose to use is probably on the higher end of what I can find out there. I'm not sure. It looks like it would be the most simple to use and most accessible for the public. Not that it's not accessible now. It is uploaded to YouTube, and anybody can search for it. What do you guys think of the software? Like I said, it would cost $200 a month for base price. I don't think we need to go above base price, but it's $200 a month. It's too much money.
It's all part of the whole deal, so maybe we need to look at it in its entirety.
Is there software out there that wouldn't have a monthly fee that we could buy outright?
Yeah. We're using software right now that doesn't cost us anything. It's just hard to use. When I installed it, I actually stayed here all night to get it to work before that first county board meeting. And it's less than professional on my part. I'll say that much. But, okay, so $200 a month is maybe not what we're looking to spend for software. That is a retain, that, I understand that the continuing fee is not a one-time expense, so I'll keep looking for other options for software.
I think that's probably the best way to go there. Anybody else have any comments about that? Okay, thanks, Eric. Next on the agenda would be the revolving loan fund. Last month at our Finance Committee meeting, Mr. Bergery and several members of IDA presented some information and proposals about that. And at that time, there was some thought about how we might want to move forward. One of the ideas advanced at that time was maybe having a joint effort between several county board members and several IDA members to try and come up with a proposal as to how something might be structured as far as to put together a program for a revolving loan. I think there's probably an awful lot of questions that have to be answered and how to put something like that together, if in fact it can even be done. But again, that's why it's on the agenda today for us to talk about it and see exactly how we'd like to proceed. Mr. Bergery is here to answer any questions that you might have from his side of the story.
I guess, what do you need from us?
I think the last discussion that John and I had was putting that, I don't know if you would call it an ad hoc committee or what, together. I know there's rules of making the meetings have to be public if you have a certain number of members and that kind of thing, so there needs to be some discussion and organizational there. I do have 3 of my directors that have volunteered to sit in on that and do that, and that would be Carrie Bell, who was here last week last month at the Finance Committee meeting, Roger Dietrich, and Walter Chip, everybody knows him as Chip Hasbury, who wasn't here last month, but he was at a holiday meeting and had a discussion with John. So that's 30, I mean, if we wanted more of that, it wouldn't be a problem to get it, but the bigger your committee gets, the harder sometimes it is to get some things done.
Well, I think the first thing we need to do, not to cut you off there, but is to put this money in an account where it's not laying in the so-called capital account right now. We need to, yeah. Just because the state says that we can do what we want with it, I really think it needs to be left there for the given reason that the money originally come for. Sure, there'll be some administration costs in-house here that we'll have to address, but I think that's the first step we need to do. But yes, I think it's a good idea that then we set up, which I think we do have a good, because we did this, what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? How all our revolving loans be done, because get it out of this county board committee, let real bankers look at it, because people in that profession that deal with that take on that issue. And so the bottom line, what was that, the county board would look at it, they would throw it back at the IDA, and then IDA get done with it, they'd throw it back at the county board. And that sounded like a pretty good process that we had set up in place. But the biggest thing is the dollar amount where we had moved it around where it might not stay there very long.
Let me shoot back in there.
Please do.
The good thing, I guess, is that there would be less, there was never a tremendous amount of reporting, but they always made it look like there would be a tremendous.
Semi-annual. And then also I went back and I looked at the report, because I know Russell mentioned about, the history, there were some bad loans. And the county has written off $284,000 in bad loans, so that's something you may want to keep in mind too.
Biggest one was what, Howard Industries was the biggest
Right.
one? And how much was that, you remember?
That doesn't include the current loan too, the $284,000.
That was 284 just to Howard Industries?
No, I think it was 190,000 to Howard.
Yeah, it was close to 200, I remember right.
So,
Which is too bad we lost them.
but all total was 284,000 in that one.
How many dollars were loaned out total, for the whole process?
$1.5 million?
$827,000.
To date, a quarter of it was
Lost.
Yeah. More.
Yeah, more.
And probably the biggest one was what, Nexus in the last, or Anargus Seminary? Yeah, yeah, you're looking at total dollar amount of loans, yeah. But I thought that was 400,000 or 500,000.
That was 200,000.
200,000, yeah.
Howard was 396,000.
It was 400,000. Let's see, those 4, 5,
The county
6.
wrote up 198,000.
There's no reason to point fingers, and it's so long ago that it would be silly to do so, but at the early stages of this program, it was handled probably less professionally than it could have been. I think we probably, for the most part, corrected that when we, about 2 to 3 years ago, came up with the program. So we're using that. I can't speak for the bankers. They can speak for themselves, and they would be involved in this ad hoc committee that we put together, but at our holiday meeting, there was a comment made that the banks would probably be more than willing to administer at no charge, I think was the discussion, the loans, so that they're handled more professionally like a bank loan, like a business loan. I did check around a little bit, and that is being done in some other areas with revolving loan funds. Like we made comments in the past, the county's not a banker, so they should get out of it. It's an option to keep the asset there so that we can use it as an incentive to still get out of it.
There's a lot of information you gotta deal with that we really don't wanna look at. Just because of how the banking system set up and fair credit
It's quite a
act.
big guideline book from the
Oh,
state
yeah.
that you need to, or that we didn't need to follow when they were looking over the shoulder. A good deal of that should still be followed. I mean, there's good stuff in there. The part that I don't consider all that good stuff is the useless reports sometimes that the state has to get, and then do they ever really look at them? You know, I mean, a lot of work goes into that kind of thing that would be, fortunately, not as necessary now, but there would still be significant, it's a loan. It needs to be monitored, it needs to be paid back. We don't need any more red ink on the list that Mindy's got there. We need it to be used as an incentive to bring jobs to the county, and they need to pay the money back so we can read. It's not a grant. I have a number of people that come in and ask about the revolving loan program, and the word loan comes out of their mouth, but they're thinking grant, that they wouldn't have to pay it back. That generally separates the real prospects from the tire kickers. But I still would repeat my original statements that we need some incentives. We have very few incentives to attract businesses and even to retain businesses. We've sadly lost some here. I don't know if we would ever put revolving loan money to this use, but Carl was on the radio this morning talking again about the Pizza Hut that are closing. Attrition is going to take away a lot of our businesses and a lot of our jobs. It just happens. It has forever, and will continue. We've got to replace some of those. We need to help some of them stay there if we can, and some that we won't be able to help, we need to replace in some other way. We need jobs. However, we can come up with an idea and a way to increase the employment in the county. It's positive for everybody.
When you give a loan, would there be, I think at one point there was something about it had to, for so much money, you had to have so many jobs created or saved or whatever?
I think that part of the rule book is something that needs to be retained. I think that's important. And that has to be monitored somewhat too. But the book also said you had 2 years to create those jobs. Some of them within the last 2 years. You make it. It's kind of a conglomeration of political BS in some areas.
I think the original language was 10 grand for every job you created, for every job you created. But now all this other language is hid behind it. And I know, looking at municipalities and the other areas around the state of Illinois, I've seen where, really, they kind of made their own rules with it.
Definitely meet guidelines. Some of the guidelines in that book are good. Some of the guidelines that my banker member directors would put in there would be probably more stringent than even some of those in the book, and that's the original qualification area. The state's program was a little less on being financially capable and a little more on making sure it was for low income and all these, different political footballs that they throw around and those kinds of things. So I think we could have the best of both worlds. If we followed pretty much the same guidelines but took out the parts that we don't want and probably put in a little bit more stringent rules for the original approval. It's kind of gone dormant since the Lion fiasco when they accused us of firing jobs. We did not do that. I still believe that they were totally incorrect in making that decision on it. But I don't really know why. Kind of went dormant. Got dusty and nothing seemed to be happening with it. It's a good incentive to have. Still good. When we come to the table, we're all sitting and we got prospects across from us, and we have to try to offer them something to show that we care. That's one of the things that we could offer. I never intend to go out and buy the job. Some companies just go around selling themselves the highest bidder, and when those incentives run out, they move on. We're not looking for those types of people. We're looking for people who are either grew up locally and they've already got some roots and they want some help starting a business, or somebody that will move into our area and sink those roots in. We're not looking for transient type businesses. We're really wanting more of them that would stay and grow. T&D is always a good example. They came down here from Belleville maybe, but near Rockford. They came down here because the TRW had donated the building across the street, the one that's gone now and they burned, donated it, and they needed a place to move to, and somehow they got the connection there, and Howard, Roger Dietrich's dad, Howard, he bought that building and moved down here, and it has been a tremendous asset, still growing, still growing. And they sunk in roots. They won't leave. They get, I'm kind of speaking out of school, but I'll bet you that Shane gets at least once a month some company or some state trying to get them to move their business to another state, to another community. They're willing to pay half of their move, give them free buildings and things like that, but they've got roots. They're here. And that's what I like to see is businesses that come in and sink those roots in, and they get harder to steal, and they don't want to. They just want to keep being a good employer, and occasionally they'll hit a speed bump, and maybe a revolving loan might help them over that bump. But they're not gifts; they're loans. They need to pay them back. That's what
Mr. Hasbargen?
Yeah, Mr. Dietrich pointed out at the last finance committee that there is insurance can be got for these loans. If they're not paid back, there's insurance to cover.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with how that works. I mean, I can understand the concept, but how they would come up with the fee for that and all that. Not really sure, but it's something that we definitely would want to look into. Because these loans, I think the steel word you've used before, Jim, these loans are inherently more risky than an ordinary bank loan. That was the purpose of them, so that they could be more of a bridge loan. If this is a good enough company to almost get a loan, let's help them get the financing they need, and then hopefully they're a good enough company that they'll pay the bank back, and they'll pay the revolving loan back as well. It's kind of a gap financing kind of thing.
Or the bankers that are not giving them the full loan are going to be on this committee. It'd just be an inherent issue, the whole process.
That's the same bankers?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's only 30,000 population. I understand there's limits, but...
Like conflict of interest?
Yeah, I'm not sure how...
Yeah.
I doubt that I'd probably get the bankers to volunteer to serve on the committee if they had to sign a paper that's saying that they wouldn't loan money to these people.
I understand that.
Well,
And on the other side of the coin, they wouldn't serve on the committee. It'd be a whole lot easier to do that than to turn down business.
Is the amount of money that's there enough to attract people, or is there, at some point, are we going to need to put more money into this fund?
Well, the original concept, and Kelby maybe pointed out, was lots of chunk of money there. The original concept is the program would grow on its own with the interest coming back. There's a limitation in there of, I'm thinking it's maybe 5% of the income that can be used for administrative costs. That's never really been a factor. And when we got involved as IDA, we weren't looking to get paid for it. We're already financed in part by the county anyway, so it's just part of what we plan to do.
Is this enough seed money to start?
Well, we're not going to go get an auto manufacturer or another Bosch even to come in based on that. When Bosch came down, I think they spent $200 and some million. Our $500,000 was a real drop in the bucket to a deal like that. But a lot of companies that have started, well, KSI down in Sister Park, they started quite small with 10 employees, and they're 100 plus at a second plant. That was in Kansas, but then they started a new one a couple of years ago, and that's the kind that I like to see. That's a solid, homegrown business that's moved into a almost international, at least a national presence, and selling some of their products, and they provide good jobs, and a loan maybe of $50,000 to $100,000 to a company like that when they're getting started, would put them over the top. They get it going, and that's been a very successful operation. So that's more the kind of thing that I'm thinking a revolving loan would help, as opposed to just lying. We were trying to loan them money, but if it was, they wouldn't buy them. We were gonna loan them the money for an expansion program as part of it. If we had said, well, we've got 100,000, we can give you, if you'll come to town, probably wouldn't have had a big factor on them. I mean, it was $11-12 million deal when they started that out. So I don't know if that's clear what I'm saying, but it's more of a seed money kind of thing to get the business to sprout, and hopefully it'll take deep roots and just grow on its own.
Maybe part of a closing tool.
Yeah. And it's something where you don't, when they say, well, what's in it for us? Good companies and bad companies, they all say that. It's part of the deal. When you're sitting at the negotiating table, you negotiate. And we have to come back to them. They're always asking about tax abatements. They're asking about free buildings, free land. They're asking about any number of things. And that revolving loan is something that we can offer to them if they're just short a little bit of funding, or the bank doesn't loan on that particular type of thing or something, but the revolving loan could. It's just one more thing in the arsenal that sit there and use to negotiate. A handshake and a smile and and a friendly chat goes a long way. But sometimes there's got to be something cold hard cash or something that finally makes the move, finally makes them want to actually come see us, live with us, work with us. So without it, we've got very little, because we're still in the state of Illinois. They come to us with a very negative opinion of moving their business to Iroquois County, not because Iroquois County is a bad place, it's just in the wrong state.
I think basically if we're interested in having a program like the revolving loan fund, that's really the issue that's in front of us today. And IDA is volunteering to help work with us in putting some type of a program together. I don't know what the outcome of that all would be, but if we can, there's obviously a lot of questions that have to be answered. A number of them have been brought up here this morning, but if you feel that we should do something like this, why we can appoint several people from here to work with several people from IDA and see what kind of a program can be put together. So I think that's the basis of reason why it's on the agenda and what we want to get accomplished.
What do we have to do if we decide to move this money to a special fund? Is there anything?
Well, it's in capital improvement now, so that would be, the board would have to actually vote.
Well, right, so you have to have some sort of ordinance or something to start a new fund. The auditors will want that, some sort of documentation involving it.
Yeah, deal with them too, don't we?
Right.
Mm-hmm. I think we need to proceed with that.
I move that we start the necessary proceedings to set up a loan fund.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Russell seconds. Okay, is a part of your motion then that a committee would be appointed, assumably by myself?
If that is part of the procedure necessary, yes.
Okay, I think that's, if they're gonna have 3 or 4 from IDA, then we should have 3 or 4 from here, and we can move forward to these. So, is there any discussion?
What exactly is the motion?
To start the necessary process to begin a revolving loan fund, and then how did you want to end that? To begin with a committee or with county board members?
Do we
Set up a committee with county board members and IDA.
do we need to add the funds that we already have in place that we got from the state, so it doesn't make it sound like we're just rattling money back now to go in the banking business. We have the money that the state gave us, so should we make sure that's clear in the motion so somebody doesn't think, because otherwise you look at the motion, they might think that we're creating.
Don't need to be that specific.
I don't think you need to add any, I mean, you've got the $500,000 sitting there, at some point the county board can vote what they want to do with that money.
With that $500,000 that the state left us.
And will that money have to be put in there? Can it be split up and part of it where it is? part of
I
it
think
is
that's what the,
revolving fund?
Larry, and I think that's part of what the committee will do is how to disperse it properly.
Which committee? You're gonna let the ad hoc committee decide whether they're gonna split the money, they're gonna say, hell no, and take it all.
Oh, that's right, and,
I think the
well,
purpose of the ad hoc committee is to put together a program for this and present it to the board
I
for their
would,
approval. It's
I would-
not the ad hoc committee going to be making any decisions. They're to do the work of putting a program
We'll be
together.
able to make recommendations, if
Right.
there's no voting power to make anything happen.
send it back to finance and whatever.
Because, for example, if, and I emphasize the word if, but if this was decided to be administered by a group consisting of county board members and IDA members, then IDA would have to approve that as well as the board would have to approve that. So, but again, until something gets put together, it's hard to say what shape it's going to take. The point is, if there's interest in getting something put together, we'd get it started.
Yeah, I think the committee needs to report to the
should we,
finance.
should we put in there that committee reports to finance? Or that way that finance has,
The following warrant.
yeah,
That's part of your motion?
yes. It's a long motion.
Yeah.
And then finance will have to come up with other ideas for
Yes,
capital
yes.
improvement.
So dancing, so dancing.
Yeah, taxing more.
Right.
What happened?
Go ahead.
Double-edged sword.
Okay, is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, I will appreciate volunteers to serve on this committee. If not, I will seek to find people. Next would be the reviewing the travel policy and a motion to adopt the travel expense claim form. You have this in front of you. The state law that was passed recently on this indicates that we need to do some things other than what's already been done. The Finance Committee established some things on this at the November meeting. The amounts for motels and meals on a daily basis were established at the Finance Committee meeting in November. But we also have to have a standardized form to be used. And basically what this form does is when an employee is making a claim for any travel expenses, they would fill this form out and it would be attached to the standard claim form that we now use, this form here. And then would be submitted for approval to the various committees and ultimately the whole board. But it's a, I don't know, it's like an intermediate thing to help clarify and not document exactly what expenses have been used and so forth. So the one that you have, Russell, right in front of the microphone there, that's the one that the health department uses now. And the other one is one that's been used, similar to what's been used in the probation department. According to the way I understand it, we need to approve something today in order to comply with the state law. Whatever we approve can be changed going forward a month, a year, whenever. It's not, forever bound to that form. But that's basically what we need to look at. Russell?
Barbara Anita thinks we need in place to keep the state happy, and she has to deal with it.
What dollar amounts are reasonable for lodging and stuff? I mean, some of you that have had to go for training and stuff.
The Finance Committee approved not to exceed $140 a night and $50 a day for meals. That's basically what they approved, which is in your minutes.
Fidel's funeral. Yeah, that was a
Obviously,
challenge.
we would encourage people not to stay in a flop house, but to be reasonable.
Fidel's funeral.
I guess if they want to upgrade to a suite, they just pay the difference.
if it's more than $140, and if the department head chooses to
Yeah.
go along with that.
Get away from the big folks.
So this is one that finance approved?
That's Barb's, I think.
No, finance hasn't approved any
Yeah.
form yet, that's
Yeah.
what we're gonna do now. They approved the amount that are on there not to exceed 140 for the motel and $50 per meal. There isn't anything on the form that probation uses does not have anything specifically identified for mileage or tolls or anything of that sort. The one that the health department is using is a little more detailed in that respect.
So we already got the software for this one.
I don't know. We get hard copies in my department. I assume you guys have that electronically? Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
So,
I will, if you don't mind, I will tell you that when we use this, there's, a place on here for, the description of expense. I mean, I make my staff at the health department, give me not only the address of where they're going, but the building, you know, like, so under, description of expense, it might say, for when I would turn in, it would say an IAPHA state meeting. But then I also require that they put in, you know, that they travel to Sangamon County Health Department, if that was located there. And then if it's something that they go to every other month, for example, I go to Springfield every other month for IAPHA. So the first time I turned in a travel sheet, I put in the MapQuest mileage with this form. After that, we just know that if they're going to the same building, it's going to be the same miles. And I don't make them attach that because that's just a waste of paper. So that's how we do it at the health department, so I can track it. So if it's a recurring meeting that's in the same location, I don't make them attach a MapQuest or put their, you know, odometer mileage down. Just because that's a waste.
I guess we should point out that if I understand the state law correctly, that every department, every county function that involves travel is supposed to be using this form. So whatever we approve has got to meet every, you know, for highway, for health, for state's attorney, for
Sheriff's Department.
whomever.
You gotta go get the bad guys.
Is what? That's the one Sandy gave me this morning. I think, you know, including some of the basics on there, on the form is what should be there, as well as an area on the form or other miscellaneous items, whatever you want to call it, can be added in. Some individuals will type those in, some individuals will write them in with a pen or pencil.
Whatever we need to do to make everybody happy. You got this piece of legislation, House Bill such and such, which makes, you know, it kind of makes sense because,
We're
So-
supposed to have a form for everybody in the county.
Yeah.
That's basically what this is all about. We can change the form.
I don't know, it's more of a department head question, what form works best for all department heads. I'm not gonna make that decision.
Well, now, if we say we want to do this one, then does the health department have to change what they're doing?
Is it
Yes,
correct,
yes.
Jim, that this form is supposed to be used by all the departments in the county?
All that report, yeah.
all that are agencies.
You have to use the form.
And that's the reason for, giving you what I am, because obviously they're not all the same right now. And it's gotta be something that'll work for everybody.
Well, that's where, is the one that probation uses, is that mandated by what they have? I mean, is it going to be something that we're going to be able to do across the board if probation is mandated to use one, but it doesn't work for everybody else?
I'm not sure about probation because they're, got, part of Kankakee is.
Right, well, their boss is the chief judge, really, so they report to us as a courtesy, but really their claims are ultimately for the chief judge. So they're a little bit of a hybrid.
So we wouldn't have to worry about that.
Well, I think that, I mean, Bar will probably use whatever form that we
I think, for example, the form at the health department is something that Barb could use very easily, honestly. It has stuff on there that she probably wouldn't use, but it has everything that she does need on there.
How expensive is that software?
No, I mean,
It's free?
Excel, it's
Oh,
free.
okay.
We can design one and I can email a blank copy to everybody and they can email it to their staff and it's not, there's no cost.
It's just that you said you're now using a different
No,
one.
I just
so-
changed it a little bit.
Okay.
Try to hand it back to me. I changed it, so I specifically wanted to know, not just Sheldon, Illinois. I wanted to know an address in Sheldon, or the community center, or whatever. I wanted to know where people were, just because I thought that if an auditor asked, for going to Springfield, if you go to Springfield and you end up on the east end of Springfield, that's a little different than going to the west end of Springfield. Mileage is going to be different. So I just thought it was cleaner for the auditors if we had an actual address or building where they were. It's not a micromanaged thing, it's a justifying the mileage and making sure it's correct. And then there have been times when I thought, wow, that mileage doesn't seem right, and I map quested it and find out it is right here,
And you just have to, then if any of the department heads decided they wanted to change something, they would have to go through a committee, right? Because they're all supposed to be the same.
I would think that if they wanted something else, they would have to submit this plus whatever else they wanted. They can do anything else over and above
Okay. So
if
this
they
is
feel
our-
that's important. But you have one, it says a standardized form, right, Jim?
Yeah,
The
correct.
a standardized form. So you have to have this form, and if you want any more in your department, you make up some additional sheet that must accompany everything in your department.
So then the more basic, the better. And then department heads, I guess, what are the auditors looking for when they look at something like that?
Either of these.
Okay.
Anything that specifies, I mean, the auditors have audited claims, travel and expense. It's one of the things they check a lot. And we've never gotten written up for having insufficient documentation. It's just that in the past, we never had a law that said it all has to be standardized. Sometimes it's nothing but the claim form and a whole bunch of McDonald's receipts. And they've never had a problem with it. So it's not so much an issue of audit, it's an issue of complying with this law, a standardized form. So if we have a standard, I'm stacking, so if we have a standardized form and I just want to put, we just want to put the location and we just want Springfield, or, so that's okay? Well, I mean...
If I understand right, if we make this the standardized form, this would be what you would turn into us, but you could still use this for you, correct?
Okay, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have my
Well-
employees spending time doing two forms. That's redundant.
Well, if we have a standardized form, that's a form that everybody has to use. You can use another form in addition to that to
Right,
keep
right. I
within
understand
yourself.
that. I'm just,
what you turn in.
all I was asking was, maybe I don't need all the information that we have on our phone. Maybe it's not unnecessary. You have to have something that documents the amount of money for an audit. What documents the amount of money that you're claiming? So, for mileage, people write different things on all their claims. Myself, I put on the address, I put on my starting and ending odometer, and I put on the Google Maps because I'm an accountant and I'm a freak about them. People are not so specific. So it depends on, but there has to be a way to support the number of miles or the mileage expense you're claiming. There's got to be a way attached to that in order for it to pass the audit.
The form also that the health department is using right now has a lot of things on there. Other departments don't have, you don't have to fill every column out. You just fill the ones out that are appropriate for the situation. It's just that having a form that has multiple places to put things is a little more inclusive and gives people a little better opportunity to be more transparent and identify exactly what they're doing. I think it also helps the board in the committee meetings, if there is a question about anybody's travel expenses, to have things summarized instead of having to go through all of the receipts and try to piece everything together. I guess it's a question, what's your pleasure? We have to do something today.
I like this one. Basic. People want to put more information on there, they have the ability to do so. Department head requires it to.
Do you have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Okay. Is there a
Got that
second?
form?
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Marvin, second.
Discussion went on for far too long. We got nowhere fast.
Yes. What everybody wants to do. I'm sure it'll be
Is there
long.
any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
When do we start using that other form? When? January 1st. January 1st. So someone will give that to us?
Oh, we got a copy machine.
Okay, next is appointments. We got several appointments that need to be made this coming month. We got a couple come up for 911. If anybody has any suggestions for that, to help me make that decision. 708 board, ICANN. I'm not sure about ZBA. I need to talk to Mr. Yergler about that. There seems to be some question there. If anybody has any suggestions or volunteers for those, I'd appreciate it if you'd let me know. And then under correspondence. Pass this around here. Ameren is going to be trimming trees in Milford in the near future. They have maps and addresses of the areas that are affected. And then this one, I don't know if I fully understand what this is all about, but start out by passing around. And Mr. Devine has some questions about that, or information on that.
All addresses.
Okay, well, we're looking at the correspondence. We can go to claims. You have sheet in front of you on the claims. It's the one claim. Any questions about the claim? If not, we entertain the motion to approve the claim. So moved. By O'Baron, second. Second. And Raymond, call the roll, please.
Raymond?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Barron?
Yes.
Bills?
Yes.
Signat?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. Is there any old business this morning? Any new business? Motion to adjourn.
So moved. So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned.